Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this. What is today? The 17th of November, 2022. I know we have a big game tonight. Green Bay, Tennessee at Green Bay Packers. Talked to a friend of mine. She's from the Milwaukee, Wisconsin area. She's living here in Nashville, and I told her we'll be pulling against her tonight. She said she did check her channel guide for the people watching who do not have Amazon Prime. I got to go at Amazon here in a little bit. Who do not have Amazon Prime will be able to see that game locally. So if you live in the Green Bay area or here in the Nashville, Tennessee area, you will be able to see that game. Yeah, Pickles, I saw that. Yeah, Bill, I'll talk about that later. Yeah, Bills and Browns will be moved indoors to Detroit. Man, that is something, some heck of a snowstorm. I saw a report just a few minutes ago that I recorded this morning. News lady said that it could be up to 6 feet of snow in some areas, which be the biggest in Buffalo City history, is what she said, which was really tough to really swallow something like that. Kyrie Irving, he'll be able to come back. Got a few questions about that. On Sunday, he will be playing Memphis. Brittany Griner, some really crazy news. Basketball player. She's in prison in Russia. Now she's been moved to a really more rough environment, from what I understand. And I'll talk about the Indianapolis situation there. There's some kind of group that's investigating the hire of this interim coach, Jeff Saturday. But first, let's get to this game before it comes on. I want to say it comes on at around 7:15 Central Time, Tennessee, Green Bay. Okay. Who needs it more, I guess, would be what's going on? Political pond. Yeah, Andre, I'm going to get to that here in a minute. So the Titans, Green Bay, they play tonight. Green Bay, obviously they're 4-6. They have a bye week coming up in week 14. And, for those of you that did not see this, Tennessee's missing their center, Ben Jones. Now, that could be a big deal for Tennessee. That could be a big deal for him. And plus, they're missing their kicker. They signed this Josh Lambo here. Now, Lambo, he's not a bad kicker. I want to say he played for Jacksonville for a little while. But Tennessee will have Jeffrey Simmons back. And they'll have Christian Fulton. Now, Simmons is the best defensive player on the team, bar none. Played really well in the Kansas City game. Very close game. That was a 20-17 overtime game. And he's coming back. So he got last week off. I think it was some load management stuff by Mike Vrabel, pulling some NBA stuff. But, hey, it's a pretty good strategy when you've got a little bit of a cushion like that in your division. Christian Fulton will be back. Now, Bud Dupree won't. But that's two key starters on their defensive side. And as far as Green Bay, they still got a lot of injuries at their linebacking position. They've got one of their cornerbacks. He's out. I want to say Stokes is out, but they'll have Douglas back with Jar Alexander. But Tennessee, this is their first game with Trayvon Burks and Ryan Tannehill, their second game back together. Remember, Tannehill missed 2 games, and what was his name? Trayvon Burks missed 4 with a turf toe. But he came back Sunday and played, and now this is his second game back in the next 4 days. So I think he'll have a decent game tonight. I think Trayvon Burks will have a decent game tonight, But here's my thing, folks. I understand Packers need it more. They need this game more. And 2 years ago, they beat the Tennessee Titans, I want to say 40-14. This was in Green Bay. Now, that was the 2020 season. That was the worst pass rush the Titans had since Vrabel's been here. Before his for his first year as a coach. That team, I was very surprised that particular Tennessee Titan team did not even made the playoffs. They won the division. They got put out in the first round by Baltimore. The only win for Lamar Jackson in the playoffs. But that year, was it Devontae Adams had a huge game against Tennessee. They ran the ball with Dillon well. They held Henry under 100 yards. I don't think that's going to be the case tonight. I do know that they need this game more, but check this out, folks. They haven't had their bye week. Their bye week won't be until week 14, the Packers. The Titans have already had their bye week, and they've rested players. Henry, Andre, Derrick Henry hasn't had over 20 carries in the last 2 games. He's had under 20 carries, 17 and 19 over the last 2 games. And I think that is a little bit of load management, right? So if you look at that, you look at the fact that Cowboys took this Packer team to overtime, and you look at all the Titans players that are back, I'm just looking at the skill and everything. I actually think Tennessee will go up there and win tonight. Could it go the other way? Yes. There's a desperation sense for Green Bay. Could they use that game that they beat Dallas and use it to build some momentum to go ahead and beat Tennessee? Yes. It's going to be about 28 degrees up there, cool and cloudy. But I can see a situation where Tennessee's going to get a little bit more burst off their running game that they normally would because of fatigue factor. There's injury factors with the Packers in the middle of the field. I can see that running the ball. So that's why I think they'll probably win maybe 2017, maybe 17-14. And that's about the point spread. At one point, it was Packers plus 3.5, but all week it's been Packers plus 3. And Gibson says 2017. That's about what I'm thinking. Now, Pickles did say that Ben Jones is a big deal for the Titans. Yes, he has not missed games for Tennessee. He's played through everything. He's got a concussion. So if you look at it from that perspective, I could see a situation where maybe the Packers, blitz the center. They gang up on at the front of the line of scrimmage there, and just bring a blitz up the middle to see if this center jumps, see if there's some penalties. So maybe he snaps the ball over the head. And a close game like this, it could be a turnover for Green Bay and they get the ball back. That is also very possible. That is very much possible. So it could go the other way, obviously. But I do think that this Tennessee team, man, they seem to be playing really well. The game does mean more for Green Bay. But if you look at the lack of fatigue, if you do player for player, injury-wise, even though they've got their kicker out and their center out, Tennessee technically seems like the more healthier team. Remember, Rashawn Gary's out for the season. Stokes is out for the season. They've got 2 more linebackers that went out that are out as well. So their linebacking core is really weak. So possibly a guy like Austin Hooper can get some passes across the middle. And I think that a guy like Ryan Tannehill, he's going to have a little bit more time to throw than he normally would. So it just seems like that would line up in the favor of the Titans. But, hey, it's Lambeau Field. And Andre says may try to exploit him. So we'll see what happens there. It's going to be an interesting game. As soon as I get off here at 8 o'clock, if I got enough material, I will be watching this game. And, guys, you guys are both in the national market. This game should be on CBS Channel 5, all you Nashvillians, and you will be able to get an opportunity to see this game. Now, the Packers they're like I want to say they're a 9th seed right now. So mathematically, they're still in it. Mathematically, they're in it for the division. I think it's a foregone conclusion. Realistically, I think Minnesota will definitely win this division. The Packers are reeling right now. But yeah, they still can get a shot at getting into the playoff with that last. Remember, there's a third wild card. There's a third wild card. This has only been going on for 2 years. The second seed don't have a bye week, right? The second seed don't have a bye week. There's a third wild card. That's probably they're battling a team like the Washington Commanders. I want to say the Commanders beat them the other day, a few weeks back. I want to say they beat them. So they're going to have that tiebreaker. This is going to be an interesting little tidbit back and forth. And the Packers just got that late bye week. Man, week 14, there's only 18 weeks. And they still got to play the Eagles before that bye week. And, of course, they get another shot at Detroit and Minnesota. But those games will be at home. I think they'll beat the Bears at Chicago. I'm just going over the rest of their schedule and how it plays out for them. I think they're probably finished for the season. They may slide in there, but I don't think they're really going to do nothing once they get in there. And a lot's going to be looked at McFleur. Now, mind you, he came into a team with a Hall of Fame, two-time MVP level quarterback playing here. Now it's going to come down to coaching and planning and field position, and I don't think he's going to be prepared for that, but we shall see. This is a big game for them. So if you just look at it from that perspective, you could pick Green Bay. But if you look at it from a skill perspective and X's and O's and susceptible to the run, not susceptible to a run, secondary pass rush, all the stuff that's not the mental part, just the physical aspect of it, that would point you towards Tennessee. And that's why I'm taking Tennessee to win this game, folks. Okay. All righty then. So Indianapolis, they will host the Eagles on Sunday night. Now, I tell you, I've not heard this much criticism for an interim coach ever. I mean, mind you, that he is an interim coach. Jeff Saturday's an interim coach. He said, I'm here. Let me let you guys know what Saturday said. I was going to get to that basketball stuff, but I might as well stay. Jeff Saturday, my role here is for 8 games, and whenever this is over, they will do an exhaustive search, and I would be honored to be part of the ones that's interviewed for this job. Okay, that's what he says. Now, today there was a story out, but this Fritz Pollard group investigates the hiring of the interim coach. And I thought to myself, man, this is crazy talk here. This group is, I got this off ESPN. It says the league spokesman, Brian McCarthy, told ESPN after Saturday was named to the positions, November 7th interim coach appointments are not subject to the Rooney Rule, which requires NFL teams to interview at least 2 minority candidates for head coaching positions. McCarthy said the team will be required to conduct a search that complies with the Rooney Rule after the season to make a permanent hire. And it's okay. Let me go back here. This is what the Fritz Pollard Alliance is an organization whose mission is to champion. This is from ESPN. I got ahead of myself. This is the first part. It says the Fritz Pollard Alliance, an organization whose mission is to champion diversity in NFL, wants to make a closer look at the Colts hiring interim head coach Jeff Saturday. The organization released a statement Thursday today. In light of the recent interim head coach hire in Indianapolis, the FPA initiated an inquiry with the NFL into whether the hiring process conformed with the NFL hiring guidelines for naming the interim coach. I mean, that is ridiculous. That is just unbelievable. The amount of attention that this has got. Again, hey, it's his team. If it's his team, if he meaning Jim Irsay, if Jim Irsay wanted to pick a local fan each week to coach the team, he could do that. There's no rules against that. Now, there would be rules if he was specifically, and now we know Miami got in trouble for this, if he had some kind of initiative for tanking, that's different. if he had some kind of written initiative for tanking or something like that, that's against the rule. That's where Miami got in that trouble with Brian Flores. But we're in such a cancel culture now where people are being told what to do and how to do it, even though it's your team. There's bylaws that's already put in place. Just like Saturday said, hey, look, man, I'm going to be just one of the hiring people or one of the interviewees, just like anybody else. I think that Jim Irsay wanted to make a splash. He wanted to get, now I don't really care for the guy. Like I said the other day, I think Irsay is born on third base, thinks he hit a home run, just like Mark Davis. But I think he wanted to make cause Saturdays on TV and whatnot. I do think that's why he brought him in. I don't think he expected this kind of pushback for it. I really don't. But he did get the attention that he wanted. This is a boring team. I'm sure the ratings are very low for the Colts. They're one of the lowest scoring teams in the NFL. I read that stat the other day. They're like 32nd in every single category. But they do have a fair defense, and they do have above average to good offensive line. Mind you, this team did beat the Kansas City Chiefs in most power rankings I read, including mine. And they're one seed right now in the NFL, the Kansas City Chiefs. So this idea that they're going to get blown out Sunday by the Eagles, that could be ludicrous. The Eagles coming off a short week, they got to go on the road. This team has a really big offensive line, starting with that guard there, Quentin Nelson. Jonathan Taylor had a good week last week. Now, mind you, there's a lot of experienced assistants on this team, including John Fox. Now, Fox is not a good head coaching material. We talked about that the other day. He's been fired from Chicago, Denver, Carolina, but he didn't get Carolina to the Super Bowl. But there are experienced guys around Saturday, but the idea of hiring Saturday, I know I get it. I didn't like it either, but at some point, you got to tell people, halt here. This is my team. There's a certain amount of rules that we've all agreed to and collectively agreed to as owners to hire, to interview. I want to say the Rooney Rule was established, the Rooney family out of Pittsburgh in 2004, I want to say. And, you hired, interview two minority candidates. I get it. But this idea that I'm just supposed to do what the public tells me to do, or what our media, who's got agenda half the time, and even in sports, it's ridiculous, tells me what to do, that's ridiculous. I say, listen, if you want to start your own organization, ESPN employee, go ahead and go out and buy you an organization, okay? Go out and put them billions of dollars and buy you a league, and then you can hire anybody you want to. People simply hire who they're familiar with. But I just don't like to be told to put a vaccine in my body that's experimental. I just don't like that type of micromanagement that is coming up with this, man. But that's all social media pressure. That's what Jason Whitlock, these guys from ESPN and stuff, they see this stuff on social media. They have one idea about something, and then they see something on Twitter. Then they have another idea. That's that flock, that herd mentality. That's that herd mentality that you start to see more and more in the modern day sports media. But either way, part of me hopes they win Sunday. Now, I will break that game down and make a prediction with Mad New Yorker tomorrow, Friday. And if he don't come on, I'll break it down by myself. But I will I think that's one of the bigger games of the week because of this story is transpiring right now and developing, where it's getting a lot of attention here. And mind you, if Tennessee loses, technically, and if the Colts win, there'll be a game and a half back, okay? There'll be a game and a half back. Now, of course, Tennessee would really have to collapse because they've already swept the Indianapolis Colts. But you look at that division, the other two teams, they've got 7 losses. They keep losing. Jacksonville and Houston both lost last week. Okay. So technically, the Colts are still in this thing. Yeah. Gibson's Andre says he threw a missile downfield. Yeah. Who did he hit? I was hoping he hit Trayvon Burks. I did take in one of these free parlays, Andre, I did pick Burks to score a touchdown and to get about 25 yards receiving here. I think he's going to get his first touchdown of his career tonight. I like this Trayvon Burks here. I know that Westbrook Akini had a good game Sunday. Now, I picked him on one of my fantasy teams here. Guy that kind of worked his way up for the Tennessee Titans, playing special teams and everything. I just clicked off my little screen here. First play of the game. Okay, good deal. All right. So we'll see how that game plays out. It's going to be an interesting game because the Eagles are 8-1. The Colts have the Jeff Saturday saga. And Mad Dog Russo, he was breaking down the game, how good a job that Jeff Saturday did against Bill Belichick's former assistant on Sunday, beating that Raider team. And I'm pretty sure it's what Saturday said. If I'm going to take this job, I'm not playing Ellinger. Okay, I'm going to play Matt Ryan. Now he's not as what he used to be, but he's a lot better than Sam Ellinger. If you give him a little bit of time to just get rid of the bleep in football, you know. And I think the main thing, and I'll tell you this, and I'll let this issue go. Jim Irsay simply wanted to. Jim Irsay simply wanted to put a fire up under the players' rear ends, and mainly I got those quarterbacks getting rid of the football. That's what that was about. Currently 26 and snowing in Green Bay. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they got a massive blizzard coming up. Okay, so the Bills will be playing Cleveland Browns. I really wanted an opportunity to see this game from just from a football standpoint. I like watching those cold Buffalo games when it's a lot of snow on the ground. I remember taking LaShawn McCoy one time, and he had a huge game. It may have been Buffalo, it may have been somebody else, but I believe it was Buffalo before they had Sean McDermott and Josh Allen about 7-8 years ago. They played the Steelers one time, and a game like this was windy and snowy, and Le'Veon Bell had a huge game, about 2016. It wasn't that many, about 6 years ago. Had a huge game, and it was all just short passes from Ben Roethlisberger and runs up the middle. But I guess my thing about this game being moved due to snow, there may be, let's see. I know this. It's a good team. A lot of players want to play for a good team, and it's big money no matter which team you're playing at. But I think that's one of the issues with players not wanting to go to a town like Buffalo, New York. You know, yeah, making good money, but, you know, you're getting 6 feet of snow, you know, to deal with all that crap and being snowed in your place. I remember last time they had a really big snow, and one player said, "Man, I've ate up all the food in my house, man. I've been in all week. We haven't even practiced." I think it was like 2014. It wasn't that long ago. Said we haven't practiced all week. And I think they moved the game to Detroit then, actually. But stuff like this these are things that free agents think about. They think about having to deal with stuff like this. And I know, well, you said, what about the hurricanes? Yeah, that hurricanes are a thing too, particularly in Louisiana. They had Katrina, but there's something about not being able to get out anywhere and just snowed in. I think that is something that will keep these guys. Now, as far as this game is concerned, I think the Bills really do need to get this game. I think, you know, they're in second place. They thought, and me included, that this team was going to run roughshod. lose between 2 and 4 games and be a number 1 seed. And Dallin's going to win the MVP, and they're going to run roughshod and go and win the Super Bowl. The first 2 weeks after beating the crap out of the Rams and then turn around and beating the Titans, I thought so. But now they have running game problems. You got Josh Allen with a bad elbow and a slew of injuries on the defensive side of the ball, and now they're hanging on for dear life. They're 7.5-point favorites. I wonder what that's going to do to the point spread, moving it to a neutral site like that. But luckily, they're playing against a guy like Jacoby Brissett and not a Deshaun Watson. I still like them to win that game, but it's going to be interesting to see how they play and deal with this with those young players. I think they'll be okay and probably win because they're just a better team than Cleveland right now. But, hey, that's what it's like playing in Buffalo. I remember Jim Kelly talked about this. When he was drafted back in 83, he didn't want to come up there and play. He said, man, Buffalo. And I remember him talking about wanting to go play maybe in one of these USFL. That was part of the 30 for 30 thing. He's like, man, I just do not. And then, of course, he fell in love with the place. He later on found out that people are really good people. That's all they got going on up there. They really look forward to seeing that football team. I know that I think they have a hockey team as well up there in Buffalo. But Orchard Park technically is the little area of the stadium where the Bills play. But 6 to 7 feet, man, I think that is crazy. And Simpson had a record amount of yards in there. Yep. And Pickle says, Hilliard. Yeah, I figured that they would use, like I told you guys, I thought that the fact that that Green Bay went into overtime, they may be a little fatigued. And then Tennessee comes up here with these fresh backs that may put the Packers kind of at odds there, you know. Yeah. And Andre says Simpson got his yards record in the Buffalo Snow. Yeah, and so it's run left, run right. And I was wanting to see that because this would have been a time where the Bills, by the way, remember they lost a weather game last year. It was high gale force winds last year because the Patriots had a better running game. They went up there and beat Buffalo in Buffalo this time last year. So this would have forced, now, of course, it's going to help Buffalo probably. It would have forced Buffalo to run that football, which is something they cannot do. It forces them to run the football. And, of course, I would think that they would probably just do read option and have Josh Allen run for 80, 90, 100 yards and possibly get him banged up even more than he already is. And then they would have the rest would probably go to Devin Singletary. And I do think he is kin to Mike, the linebacker for the Chicago Bears there, Pickles, or Andre. Yeah. So anyways, extra point good. Guys are giving me the heads up here. My Tennessee friends. Okay. Switching gears here. Kyrie Irving in other news. He was cleared to play Sunday, speaking of Tennessee, against Memphis, according to Sharm Sharamia, after this is guy of The Athletic, after sharing the anti-Semitic documentary from Amazon. Even after late criticism for Amazon, the documentary, according to every article I can find, is still up on their website. You know, so this is what this guy had to do. And like I said before, he knows that he causes a distraction, but he's so caught up in the Kyrie that he really don't care, you know. But anyways, I thought these steps you have to do to come back to the league after being suspended was way over the top, okay? I'm no Kyrie guy, but this is way over the top, man. He says, so in order to be reinstated, this is also from Sharm Sharamia, folks. It says, in order to be reinstated by the team, Irvin must fulfill 6 requirements: apologize and condemn the film he promoted, make a $500,000 donation to an anti-hate cause complete a sensitivity training, complete anti-Semitism training, meet with the Anti-Defamation League. I think that's what that means. Meet with the ADL and Jewish leaders, have a cup of coffee with them, meet with the team owner, Joe Tesla, to demonstrate an understanding of the situation. And I thought to myself, okay, so you guys just heard every little thing I read about Irvin. Okay, now, I agree with Stephen A. Smith on this thing. A lot of stuff I don't agree with him. He doesn't do his homework. Everything is racist. And he talks out of his rear end sometimes. But he says, how come nobody is making the executives at Amazon do first of all, take it down, and it's one executive somewhere. It's one executive at Amazon, right? The Amazon that wants me and you to pay for a football game, on Thursday, not unless it's in our viewing range, and then turn around and put commercials on there. That Amazon, right? How come the person who, after they're made to take it down or mandated to take it down, how come that person from Amazon don't apologize and condemn the film that they put on their platform, make a $500 million donation, since we're talking a practically $1 trillion company, to anti-hate causes? Why won't that group or that person with Amazon complete sensitivity training? Why don't that person complete anti-Semitism training? Why don't that person meet up with the ADL and Jewish leaders? Why don't that person meet with the team owner, Joe Tsai, to demonstrate an understanding of that situation? Just saying. Where did he get that from? And by the way, Mr. Tsai, who has ties to Chinese companies, how dumb he doesn't condemn those concentration camps over there for the Muslims in China? How come he doesn't make China go through that? How come that is not being talked about? So let's not pick and choose what to be outraged about. This is so over the top. Just food for thought, right? All right. Speaking of the facts, Corey says facts. Yeah. Where's Bezos? Yeah. The same guy that's charging me and you $15 a month to watch a game on Thursday and then turn around and make us watch your stupid commercials. Are you kidding me? Andre said, that's right. Kyrie's been a distraction from Cleveland, Boston, and the Nets. Yes. And I'm not defending. It's the principle of how it's being handled. Kyrie is about Kyrie. Kyrie doesn't want to play defense. Kyrie is you never know when Kyrie wants to do everything but play basketball sometimes, So everything, he says Kyrie been distracted. He's a total distraction, man. He's a total distraction. But this is a principle thing. This is a principle, a deal for me. And I don't appreciate the way the league has handled this particular situation. Okay, so speaking of Brooklyn. Okay, Brooklyn, and they gave up 150 points the other day. 153 points to the Sacramento Kings. And I got a couple old timers here. Of course, old school. I'm old school. We're close to the same age, but we followed basketball in the 80s. Andre was on the program yesterday. We're talking about those eras, the 80s, the 90s. He brought up the 70s, and the Nets gave up 153 points. And I want to say that they gave up a record amount of points here. This is, let's see what this says. The 153 points allowed was the most ever in a regular season games in Nets history. All right. And that's the most points. Kevin Huerter had 19 points. This Sabatas had 17 as the Kings had their highest scoring game in nearly 30 years. So this is a higher scoring game than those Peja Stojakovic Kings teams with Mike Bibby and Chris Webber. And they're going against guys like Ben Simmons and Kevin Durant. So 153, that's like an all-star game, where nobody's playing defense. You're just doing alley-oops and shooting three-pointers, and the crowd says, wow, yay. But so my thing is, how is that even possible, man? These players lack any kind of self-respect. You say, well, it's an 82-game season, yada, yada, yada. I say, listen, man, if you can't play, and this is what Phil Jackson said. He said, a lot of people compare Kobe to other players, talking about Kobe Bryant in his book. He says, one of them was a guy like Tracy McGrady. And he says, when I would ask Tracy, or he says, this is what I hear from other coaches. When you ask Tracy McGrady to play defense, he comes up lame with an injury. He says, not like a guy like a Kobe or Michael or anybody of that nature. But can you imagine a Phil Jackson coach team 25 years ago or Pat Riley team 30 years ago giving up 153 points with talent level players like Ben Simmons, who's one of the best defensive bigs out there, and a guy like Kevin Durant, who's also one of the better defenders out there when they want to be, even in a regular season game. I just cannot fathom that kind of just lack of effort, man. And then you look at a team like Golden State, who hasn't won a single road game this year. Curry scored 50 points, and they go up 130 at Phoenix. That is just, I understand that you got 162 in baseball, and I remember Kyle Cowers said the other day, he said, maybe Cal Ripken should have took more games off. Maybe he should have took it to help somebody else develop, rest your body and all that. But, man, that kind of effort is just unbelievable. See, I would be embarrassed. I say, listen, man, if you don't want to play defense for this team, you can't play on this team. All right, you're going to be – well, I would be fired immediately. I would just – there's no way I would put up with that, because that's all that is effort and communication. I would play the whole bench. I say, man, if we're going to give up 150-something points, why should I play my starters here? Why should I play my starters? I understand it. Like I said, it's an 83, but that's a 30-year gap there with all those players. And if I'm the head coach, I'm saying, man, you guys are making me look bad here. And I didn't read anything about players getting put out of this game with technicals or anything like that. I didn't hear anything like that. I did look at the box score. Kevin Durant played and Ben Simmons played. Durant needs to boil on the banks. And then Andre says Durant's a passenger on the Brooklyn Titanic. Yeah. And he's the one that orchestrated. Now he's 34, and if you could get a Danny Ainge kind of deal for Kevin Durant, I would at this point. If I'm that owner and the general manager, I would try to work out something for Durant. I really would. Then I was reading an article that people want more out of Ben Simmons, and he's had some issues there as well. And I'm like, man, but you know what really kills me about these guys is that if these guys knew, and I know a lot of these athletes, they're really far removed from that, but if they knew the kind of crappy jobs that some of us have to do, dealing with the crappy people that we have to deal with just to make ends meet, and you get an opportunity to have generational wealth and don't have to answer to nobody, but it's like they can't fathom what it's like to deal with some of the people that I have to deal with doing security years ago, Andre and Corey, that are just, lack of a better word, they're idiotic, they're small-minded, and they're haters, you know. But I have to work with these people, whether they my boss, their co-workers, and I had to put up with it because I couldn't afford to start my own business, or I had to work to survive. You know, had to work to pay bills. But I just wish these pro athletes had that kind of just sense of what things could be like, that taste of battery acid, of that lack of respect in these moronic people. They would play defense for 82 games. Michael Jordan won NBA Defensive Player of the Year and MVP in the same year in 1988 because a writer said he didn't play defense. He got the MVP and Defensive Player of the Year and the scoring title. So this idea, and his career didn't end in 1989. The guy went on to win 6 championships in the 90s. They wouldn't even winning championships in. And these guys they give up 153 points. I actually thought about betting on them because they were like a 1.5 point underdog in that game. I'm like, to the Kings, the Sacramento Kings, Ben Simmons, Kevin Durant, they got Joe Harris on that team. I want to say Seth Curry. I didn't see the box score. They still got some shooters on that team, you know. And Grant had his 27 points. Had no answers defensively for Sacramento's 153 points were the most allowed in regular season in the history of the team. So this team plays worse defense than those pre-Jason Kidd teams. I mean, that is just no self-respect, man. That is just no self-respect. Can you imagine a Boston team doing that in 1986? Could you guys imagine a 1992 New York Knicks team letting that happen? Can you imagine a Pat Riley team letting that happen? Yeah, you might do that, but we're going to have about 4 or 5 guys kicked out of the game for fouling. You know, but this is a different era. This is an era where guys share agents. There's so much money. There's no real I'm trying to destroy you mentality. There's no real rivals. Sometimes in the playoffs you get rivals. Sometimes I get it. And that's why I said I like guys like who actually have a little bit of dignity. And I know Patrick Beverley is a guy who is controversial sometimes. I didn't like him pushing who was it? Chris Paul after Paul got the best of him, but at least he gives a bleep, right? You know, I like a guy like Giannis Antetokounmpo that's all about basketball, not about lecturing the general public on stuff. He takes snaps before games. He's all in all the time. You know, he's from another country. He sees how hard things can be, not like people from this country, and he takes his craft very seriously. Where are those kind of players at nowadays? Plus, these guys make tons of money outside the NBA. Yeah, so it's so comfortable for these players now that they just don't give 2 bleeps about any kind of competition. And I love, and that's why that we get so excited last year, guys, when you see a Milwaukee and a Boston, I mean, gut it out for 7 games. But a Marcus Smart still plays the game with respect, you know. That whole Boston, everybody on that, and there was some injuries, but at least they give a crap. You know, my adage is, if you don't care, why should I care? If you don't care, why should I care? Okay? Never would have happened with Bird, Magic, and Thomas. Yeah. Times are different. But yeah, I mean, just and I understand it's different in playoffs, but man, 30 years. So somebody 30 years ago shot somebody, but at least they probably played better defense then. That was probably more impressive than what happened last night or the other night in this game. Okay. So stand by, everybody. I got one more story I'm going to talk about, but I got to go to a quick commercial break. I'll be back in about a minute and 19 seconds here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. After 5 years of doing this program once a week, balancing a 60-hour work week job, I've decided to do the program 5 days a week, 1 hour a night, taking a significant pay cut. So I've started a Patreon page, which is Patreon, Patreon/SportsScope, spelled the same way at the bottom of the screen you see there. For $5 a month, 17 cents a day, you can help support the program. You ask yourself, why Sports Scope? Well, I bring in such big names such as Al Borges, former Auburn offensive coordinator, and I cover the big news in sports that the corporate media will not cover. If you want to contribute more than $5 a month, you can go use the Cash App. The cash tag is Sports Scope, again, spelled the same way. Or you can go to the Zelle app, sportscope@gmail.com. SportsScope has about 5,000 followers and growing. If you want to advertise on the program, you can email me. The word is SportsScope, spelled the same way again, @gmail.com. Thank you and enjoy the program. Hey, now I'm back here live. It looks like that I just got something off my phone here. It looks like Christian Watson scored a touchdown here. He beat Christian Fulton to get it out. Secured it for a touchdown. Interesting game. I can't wait to get on this game here. Okay. So then other news. I shouldn't say it in that tone. Brittany Griner was sent to a penal colony. She's transferred to another facility. It is the IK/2 PEN Penal Colony. It's in the town of Yavs in the central region in Russia somewhere. It's known for its harsh climate. It stands for corrective colony, the most common type of prison in Russia. According to Russia's Federal Penitentiary Services, got 800 inmates. I looked that up online. And, I'll say this, man. I mean, now remember, she's been in there since February for some vape cartridges and marijuana that obviously they know she's 6'8". They know that she's played for the Russian team for years. She comes there for the $1 million versus the $250,000. And we talked about this before on the program that, I blame more than anything her agent and people around her to have her completely out of the country before there were massive rumors about Russia invading Ukraine back in January. Even the president let something slip out that was going to happen. She should have got out of Dodge way back then. That being said, I'm sure Putin put one of his minions. And he said, so she's still here? Okay, I know what this is going to lead to. So let's go ahead and get us a political prisoner here. She's probably been taking this stuff in and out of that country for years. They know she's not a major drug dealer. Let's cut the crap with the 9 years. Now, she since went to court and got 9 years for something like that. Now, what I'm about to say, under normal times, if there was no war, anything like that, I would say, hey, look, you got to know the law of the land that you're going to, because you're not always protected under the United States Constitution way over here in Russia someplace, right? Okay. So there's 2 lessons learned here. Be super careful in other countries and simply never do business. And this is something I tell my kids, if I had some kids or coaches, anybody I'm mentoring, don't ever play basketball in China or Russia. You never know when they're going to be able to turn on you. The laws are totally different up there. These countries have a history of holding people. Some of these Middle Eastern countries, you want to throw in that as well. As I just would not do any kind of business. And if I was any male, female, there's no way. She would give all that money back for her freedom. That's one lesson. The other lesson, the other thing I get out of this, if I'm president, I don't care if it's this president, the former president, Harry Truman, George Washington. If I'm president and this person is detained under this type of circumstances, this is going to be very simple. Now, this may get me impeached, but at this point, I feel like Putin's trying my patience and he's trying my manhood, and he's really checking to see what I'm going to do. He's disrespecting me personally. I'm going to say, listen, man, we tried this stuff with the State Department. We've tried to move some people over there. You know that I know why you know what you're doing. We know why you're doing it. That needs no never mind. You've got 24 hours to get this person back. And they say, well, what do you mean 24 hours? Okay. And the translator's probably saying, do you really want an international war over something like this? You want nuclear? And then I'm going to answer a question with the question. Do you want you can't beat Ukraine. Now we're giving them, you can't, do you really want us to have a problem with you? Okay, you've got 24 hours to put her back on a plane. And we've already tried being nice. And I understand some other guys over there for some espionage stuff, some military guy, whatever. But this particular situation, I say you got 24. And you know what? United States, Russia, they got their hands full. You know what? There she is. Boom. She went to Baylor, right? Where's she from? Dallas? If you said that to him, if I said that to him, you'd see her come off that airplane. Oh, man, what do you know? There she is. Yeah. Yeah, I was reading that story about those Iranian hostages. As soon as they knew Reagan won, they said, all right, there you go, man. Yeah, that's how you handle that. That's how you handle that. You're crazy. Well, you don't want to know if I'm crazy or not. Just, do you want to wait 24 hours and find out? I don't know. If you want to wait 24 hours and maybe we drop a few missiles on you, and yes, I can do it. I don't have to declare war. Both presidents done it. This one, the one before that, the one before that. Multiple presidents have done that. But that's how I would do it. That's how I would handle it. Is that the right thing? I don't know, but that's how I would do it. That's how I would do it. I said, you got 24 hours. Go up there, make the call. We know you're a dictatorship. We know you don't have state laws like we do. You got Vladimir Putin in charge of everything. He makes the call. She's home. That's it. That's how you handle that. That's how you deal with bullies. That's from somebody that's grew up like he's grown up. A friend of mine called me today about Putin, the guy I went to school with. He said, man, I watched this thing. He grew up like we did, man. I said, yeah, because that's how you got to deal with a guy like that. Do you want to find out what I'm going to do? Do you want to jeopardize Moscow? Do you want to jeopardize your citizens over one basketball player? But for my pride, my dignity, yeah, don't embarrass me. I remember my parents used to tell me this in a restaurant, man. They would, and that scared me too, man. Both of my parents, when I was real little, even my mom, my dad, of course. That means without saying. But she would say, don't embarrass me in here. When she said it like that, I knew not to embarrass her in there. You know, she told me one time I was walking out of this Bill Martin's, and this is a dumb kid with doing dumb kid stuff. I wanted to see if I can get through this door without it opening. Dumb kid, the wrong way. And she said, don't do that. And I tried to do it anyways, and the door hit me in the head. But she whooped me. But I was seeing stars, so I was so dizzy that the whooping didn't even hurt because my head was so hurting so bad. I was seeing stars. It was so numb. But I knew right then, don't embarrass me, do what I ask you. That's what I tell Putin. That's a man-to-man conversation. Do you really want this kind of friction over something like this? Because you are personally insulting me. It's not about her, it's about me. You personally insulted me. But hey, I probably wouldn't be president. The world would end. I probably won't be an NBA coach. I probably won't ever be president because I probably don't have the temperament for it. You know, I just don't got the temper. Card should have nuked Iran, what Pickle says. We could turn. Yeah, and that's the thing, Pickles. I know this is not politically correct, but this is not. I don't try to be ESPN. I don't try to pander and placate. I don't try to do stuff like that. You know? But that's just, I'm just telling you, that's between us. That's the way I would handle that. That's how that, I just, you know, we're in a world right now where everything is so passive. Hadn't you noticed that? Players ain't playing defenses. You got guys quitting on teams. You got a lot of transfers in college. You got a lot of players that are not on the same page with the quarterback more and more nowadays. It's just there was such a passive world. We're in a passive aggressive world. Like for instance, I'll tell you guys this story. I had to call my boss yesterday, the guy that owns my company. And long story short, these people have been holding me up. And I've been nice to them and not at Vanderbilt, the main lab. And I hadn't been charging them because I was getting there early before my actual time to get there because they were holding me up. And I told him, I said, listen, Danny, either you got to pay me more for this pickup or I got to pick this up 30 minutes early because these people are disrespecting my time. And normally it takes me 35 seconds to a minute to get this stuff. I'm waiting 20 minutes. It's a problem. It's a problem. And I said, I hate to bother you, sir. But when he heard me like that, he fixed it. This was on, what's today, Thursday? This was on Tuesday. Yesterday, when I woke up and saw that tablet, it was a 10:30 pickup, wasn't 11 o'clock. And then if he said, well, I can't, I said, well, take it off my schedule then. Well, yeah, okay, well, I'll just find something else to do. At some point, the principle's so deep, you got to stand up and say something. But he was cool about it, though. You know, he was good about it. He was good. But we're in a world right now where just, and it's bad. These passive people, they're afraid of any kind of confrontation. I don't like confrontation, but sometimes you don't get the message, you know? Can do that. Yeah, Pickle says, know a guy in Atlanta, Jimmy Carter. Poor risk management. Make these players. Carlos says these players make a lot of money outside the NBA. When you pay these guys much money, the attitude. Yeah, I'm just making sure I got all y'all's comments in here, guys. I'll answer them before we end the program here. I think this is going to be a good game tonight. This will be a big test for a team like Tennessee. Tennessee will play another game like this, Dallas, here in a few weeks, guys. So this is going to be interesting. They will play also another Thursday night game. This team was a 1 seed last year, but I would say they didn't get no love on primetime, but I just now remember they did play Kansas City on primetime, so I can't go on that rant. Pickles says, fun stuff, good show. I appreciate it, Pickles. Tomorrow I will be back, Mad New Yorker. I'll see you on there, Carlos. And Carlos, I have not forgot about those tickets that you want for the Titans and Houston game from that career fair we went to, buddy. I will get that as soon as I can. Have been real busy this week. Again, hey guys, check out Denial of the Tiger by Al Borges. He was really nice to come on the program twice. Very good book. I'm gonna give that to my dad when I get done. And also, mind you, I'm going to get Jimmy Johnson at some point. I'm gonna stay on him until I get him. He's got his book out, Swagger. Going to get some. He's got 3 rings on his hands. You know, this is a really good. I like the cover of this. I can't wait to get a hold of this. Next Wednesday, by the way, I will have Kavarius Tears, a current college baseball player for University of Tennessee, #1 team in the country, We'll be on the program the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. No show next Thursday, right? I got to take a day off. No show on Thursday, Thanksgiving, because I got to work the day job in that morning. But next Wednesday, I will have Kavarius Tears on. I want to make sure that you guys get a chance. If you want to ask him questions here, number one team in the country last year, have your questions ready. Okay? Have a good night, guys. I'm going to get on here and watch the game as well. I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place here on Sports Scope.